Imagine this. You wake up every day, pack your lunch, skip the coffee shop latte, and carefully set aside a few $100s each month into your savings account. You feel responsible. You feel like you're building your future. But then, 10 years go by, and while you've been disciplined, the harsh reality hits. Your money hasn't grown. In fact, thanks to inflation, it's worth less than when you started. This isn't a personal failure. It's a system designed to make sure that just saving money will never, ever make you rich. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why. Welcome back to the channel, where we dig into the hidden truths about money, wealth, and how the system actually works. Today's topic might be uncomfortable, but it's one of the most important financial lessons you'll ever hear. Why you'll never get rich just saving money. I'll break this down with real-world examples, explain how banks and governments have stacked the game against savers, show you what the wealthy do differently, share the latest news that proves this point, and give you practical steps you can start using right now to escape the saver's trap. Stick around until the end, because the difference between saving and investing could literally determine whether you retire comfortably or keep working until the day you die. Let's peel back the curtain on one of the greatest illusions of modern finance. The belief that saving money alone will make you wealthy. For generations, this was the dream. Work hard, be frugal, put money aside, and you'll retire comfortably. It's the story our parents and grandparents lived by, and for them it worked, at least for a time. But today the world has changed. The rules of money have shifted under our feet, and most people haven't even noticed. Think back to your first piggy bank. Remember dropping coins into it as a kid, feeling the weight grow heavier, hearing the satisfying clink of money piling up? That piggy bank was our first lesson in finance. Save, save, save. Schools reinforced it, parents preached it, movies romanticized it. The problem is that this lesson, while safe, was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you obedient. Saving is safe, but it's also stagnant. It doesn't multiply. It doesn't grow beyond the slow drip of interest the bank decides to give you. Here's the irony. Banks teach you to save, but they don't save themselves. They take your money, lend it out, and invest it. That's where the real profits come from. The bank uses your money to make money. And what do you get in return? Pennies. Maybe enough interest to buy a cup of coffee at the end of the year, while the bank earns thousands off the same funds. Let's go back half a century. In the 1970s, if you put your money into a savings account, you might earn 6% to 10% interest. That wasn't terrible. Inflation was high too, but at least you could keep up. Your money worked a little harder. But as the decades passed, interest rates fell. In the 2000s, banks slashed savings rates to near zero. After the 2008 financial crisis, savers were punished even more. Central banks kept interest rates artificially low to stimulate the economy, but it meant ordinary people earning virtually nothing on their savings. Then came the pandemic and the years that followed. Inflation surged to 7%, 8%, even 9% at times, while savings accounts continued to pay out crumbs. This created what financial experts call negative real returns, meaning your money is shrinking in purchasing power every year it just sits. Think about that for a second. You're not just standing still when you save, you're moving backward. Inflation is the invisible force that makes saving a losing game. Prices creep up year after year, but our dollars don't stretch as far. What used to buy a week's worth of groceries now buys 3 days. What used to cover rent now barely covers utilities. Here's a chilling example. In 1990, the average new home in the US cost around $120,000. Today, that same house averages $400,000 or more, depending on where you live. Did wages grow threefold in that time? No. Did savings accounts keep pace? Definitely not. So when people say, just save your money, what they're really saying is, just slowly lose your wealth every year. It's financial erosion, and it works silently, invisibly, until one day you realize that the nest egg you thought was enough isn't. Why do people keep saving anyway? Because it feels safe. There's comfort in seeing money sitting in a bank account. You can log in anytime, check the balance, and feel in control. Investing, on the other hand, feels risky. Stocks crash, real estate bubbles burst, crypto is volatile, saving feels like certainty. But here's the truth. The safety of saving is an illusion. If your money doesn't grow faster than inflation, you're guaranteed to lose. That's not safe. That's a slow death. Contrast that with investing. Yes, the short-term ride is bumpy. Markets go up and down. But over the long term, assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate have historically outpaced inflation by a wide margin. That's real safety, knowing your money will still hold its value and grow over decades. Here's the critical difference between savers and the wealthy: mindset. The average saver sees money as something to protect. They clutch it tightly, afraid of losing it. The wealthy see money as something to deploy. They treat every dollar as a soldier that needs to go out into the world and bring back more dollars. That's why Warren Buffett, one of the richest men alive, doesn't keep his fortune sitting in cash. He invests it into businesses. He lets compounding, the eighth wonder of the world, as Einstein called it, do the work. Take this example. If you save $10,000 and keep it in the bank for 20 years at 0.5% interest, you'll end up with about $11,000. Congratulations, you made $1,000 in 2 decades. Meanwhile, inflation might have cut your purchasing power in half. But if you invested that same $10,000 in the S&P 500, historically returning around 8% a year, in 20 years you'd have over $46,000. That's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck in retirement or actually being financially free. Let me tell you a story. There were 2 friends, David and Lisa. Both started their careers in the same small town, earning similar salaries. David, cautious by nature, saved diligently. He cut out luxuries, put money into a savings account, and prided himself on his discipline. Lisa, on the other hand, took a different approach. She saved an emergency fund but began investing early, buying shares of companies she believed in, putting money into a low-cost index fund, and eventually buying a small rental property. Fast forward 30 years. David has about $200,000 in savings, a decent sum, but not enough to retire comfortably. Lisa, on the other hand, has over $2 million in investments in real estate. She travels, helps her kids through college, and lives without financial stress. The difference? Not intelligence, not luck, not even hard work. The difference was that Lisa understood that saving alone wasn't the path to wealth. She put her money to work. Here's something most people never realize. The financial system wants you to save. Why? Because your savings fuel the profits of banks and governments. Banks take your deposits and lend them out at much higher rates. Governments rely on inflation to reduce the real value of their debt, which means your savings quietly lose value while they pay off obligations with cheaper dollars. So when financial gurus on mainstream TV say, save, 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 they're reinforcing a system that benefits the institutions, not you. That's why the wealthy almost never talk about saving. They talk about investing, ownership, cash flow, and assets, because they know that's where the real power lies. But let's go deeper. The saver's mindset comes from fear. The fear of losing money. And it's understandable. Many of us grew up watching our parents or grandparents struggle, maybe losing homes or jobs during recessions. The idea of keeping money safe feels responsible. But that fear creates a scarcity mindset. It keeps people locked in survival mode, clinging to every dollar, never letting it grow. Wealthy people think differently. They operate from abundance. They believe money is a tool, not something to hoard. They take calculated risks because they understand that not taking risks is the riskiest move of all. Here's the bottom line. If your goal is financial security, saving is fine. But if your goal is financial freedom, true wealth, the kind that lets you retire early, travel, or pass something on to your children, saving alone will never get you there. You can't outsave inflation. You can't save your way into wealth when the cost of living rises faster than your interest. And you can't win the game by playing defense alone. The only way forward is to invest, to build assets, to let your money multiply instead of sitting idle. Because in the end, money is like water. If you let it sit in a stagnant pool, it evaporates. But if you put it in motion, into rivers, streams, and currents, it flows, grows, and nourishes everything around it. So what can you do instead? Keep an emergency fund, but don't overdo it. Yes, you need some cash for emergencies. Usually 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's what savings are for. But anything beyond that shouldn't just sit in a bank account. Invest in assets that outpace inflation. Stocks, index funds, ETFs, real estate, or even crypto. These are assets that can grow your wealth. Historically, the stock market has averaged 7 to 10% returns annually. Compare that to 0.5% in savings. Learn the difference between saving and investing. Saving protects your money from short-term risk. Investing protects your money from long-term loss of value. If you only save, you're guaranteed to lose. Start small, but start now. You don't need thousands to begin. Many apps allow you to invest with as little as $5. The sooner you start, the more compound growth works in your favor. Think like the wealthy. Rich people don't just save. They use money as a tool, a worker, an employee. Every dollar they invest is working for them 24/7. That's the mindset shift you need. So the next time someone tells you to just save, remember, saving money won't make you rich. Investing will. Start small, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, a like would be fantastic, and subscribing helps me keep creating content you'll hopefully enjoy. Please share your experiences and any questions in the comments. I always try to read and respond. Your support keeps this channel going. Until our next video, take care and have a wonderful day.